And we're live. We're live. Hello, everybody. Just a second. I'm just gonna X out that we're live.
Oh.
Unfortunately, we can't tweet it out anymore because it's. So I'm just gonna X out. Invite. Let me see. Share. Comments.
Wait, yeah, no, what? X?
Pardon, say again?
Is your Twitter X now? Hi, Stephen. Is your
Oh,
Twitter
yeah.
X?
Oh, yeah. Of course Twitter is X. I mean, are you 2020?
My app hasn't changed. I even went to look if it wanted an update, but I've still got a blue bird and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, they haven't.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to think of something more catchy than I'm going to X out. That sounds a bit cheesy.
Or what about
kind of action type?
Or what if they say, I'm gonna X you? It sounds a little bit like you're killing somebody, right?
X it. Yeah, it's got to be, hasn't it?
This is like, okay.
What else
we are live now. Join us to talk about men's issues. We're super professional here, and I X'd it. Hi, Stephen. Good to see you. And somebody else is there. Who else is there? Right. Drop a message if you're watching us. Okay, so welcome to MRAdio, the weekly show where we look at men's rights and the non-existence of men's rights in the UK.
More appropriately.
Exactly. Your hosts are the lovely Elizabeth Hobson. Please say hi. And the even lovelier Philip Tanser. Oh, I didn't have any alcohol. It seems like I'm drunk, but I'm not. I haven't had anything. Coffee. Oh my God. Look at this. Yeah. I got this mug for Father's Day. It's my daughter's hand.
How lovely is that?
Isn't that the cutest thing ever?
Yeah.
And on the other side, it's let's say it's modern art. The other side looks a little bit like what comes out of her. What I find in her diapers.
I saw a lovely photograph of her in some long grass.
Yeah. A friend of mine from Germany, he left a really cool comment. It's like #GoVegan. That's hilarious. This guy is hilarious. Anyways, okay. So, are you ready to look into our stories of today?
Born ready.
Okay, let me see what we are talking about first. So the first story I would like to talk about comes from the British government. So I'll read it out, and we don't have to read into the whole into the whole bill, obviously. But here it says, press release: overhaul of laws to protect women from domestic killers. And it says, controlling ex-partners who lash out at the end of their relationship will face longer than ever behind bars under new government plans to tackle domestic abuse. Gonna scroll down a little bit, and here it says, and this is very important, there are 3 bullet points. Longer sentences for bitter partners who murder following the end of a relationship. That's point number 1. Point number 2, history of coercive and controlling behavior to be a mitigating factor for abused victims who killed their tormentors. Point number 3, consultation on longer sentences for coercive and controlling behavior to be expanded to include use of weapon. The third part, not really interesting for us, but the first two are very interesting because they are two very separate issues that were put together into this law. And I want to explain a little bit about that. Just I'm gonna increase it a little bit for our viewers. A bit too big. Yeah. So, what's going on here? A little explanation. Feminists obviously want men to rot in prison as long as possible. So, if at the end of a relationship, let's say, okay, complete hypothetical, nothing like that has ever happened before, yeah? A woman leaves her partner and takes the children away and keeps him from seeing the children. The guy falls more and more into depression, can't afford his flat anymore, can't see his children, and then kills his ex-partner in a rage, and then himself. Okay, if he kills himself, then the prison sentence is, well, doesn't matter really anymore. But obviously, then he should get even longer sentences, as is already the case, and the sentences have already been very long. So that's one part of the bill.
Yeah, well, that was my question. Like, for that particular part, like, I've not even really heard many feminists raising like that.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't hear you for a second.
Sorry, I said that I haven't even really heard feminists complaining that, like, a man who murders his ex, like, would generally get a short sentence. Like,
no, but they thought, for good measure, I think we should just make it longer. I think we should just be even harsher of men that kill women. Now, this is very important. This bill is not written in gendered language. So and when it says that it protects women from killers, it's like, oh, so it's gender neutral language in the bill, but we already know how it's going to be applied, because the Ministry of Justice is absolutely honest about this. It's like, no, this is to protect women, not to protect victims.
Well, so yes, but I mean, if we actually wrote to them, they'd write back and say, yeah, but we're talking about violence against women, and that includes male victims, wouldn't they? So they would bullshit their way out of that, as they usually do. But yes, obviously we know how it's going to apply.
Yeah. But just saying. So, but this is just the first part of the bill. Yeah. The second part of the bill was encouraged by a case of a woman named Sarah Cullen, and she killed her ex-partner with 17 or 18 blows to the head with a hammer. So the relationship wasn't it like Sally Challen? Yeah, Challen. Oh, Sally Challen. Yeah. Sally Challen.
Yeah,
Sarah.
And Jess Phillips cried tears of joy when they let her out. Exactly.
So to inform the people, the relationship with her and her ex-partner was over. It was over. There was nothing going on.
And and he, like, there was so much animosity still festering that. Like, who's the controlling bitter person here? You know what I mean? It's very odd.
So she went to him. She went out of her way. She went to him with a hammer and killed him in cold blood. But because she claims that he was coercively controlling, I don't know if there's actually any evidence for that, but because she claimed that, she was let out of prison, and it was like, oh, it wasn't murder, it was manslaughter, even though it was very clearly premeditated. So, but because because of this case, they created this new bill, or this part of the bill, where it says like, if there is any evidence of, so if you killed somebody and there is any evidence that the other person was controlling, then you get a reduced sentence. And we all know how.
I mean, it doesn't say that, does it? It doesn't say if there's any evidence. I mean, to be honest, it seems quite weird to me, because it just seems like they are announcing, they've got a press release. What do they call it? Like a change of policy or something? But this is exactly what happens anyway. Like,
overhaul of laws to protect women from domestic abuse, from domestic killers.
Overhaul? Yeah, it's not an overhaul, is it? It is literally exactly what happens.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, like evidence of some kind of serious abuse or coercive behaviour or something, it should be a mitigating factor in these. Man or a woman, but it's not like it's not already. Like, Sally Challen got out in the most egregious.
But the thing is, she had to fight for it, and we can't have women. We can't have women. We can't have women fighting for something. No, it has to be just. It just has to be the gold standard. So really, what this law says, even though it's in gender neutral language, it's like, if a man kills a woman, he should be sentenced even harsher. If a woman kills a man, she should really go free. Oh, by the way, just a second. I just want to say hi to our friendly cosmic Care Bear, Ian, and to Vernon. Hi guys, good to see you, and thanks for tuning in.
This is a big nothing. Like, do you remember a few years ago, like 5 in England, and like there were all these big celebrations about it, but all it meant was, well, nothing. Like, because we knew already that what was happening. Yeah, women were supposed to be seen by a medical professional twice and had forms filled in, and they'd be signed, getting the 2 forms that had already been signed slid over. So it's just like feminist posturing. They're just looking for some clout. I don't think anything's going to change. I'm actually interested in that third bit. Like, what do they mean coercive consulting with use of a weapon? Because if it's like use of a weapon, like to harm someone, then it's like serious bodily harm or whatever. Whereas, or do they mean like, I don't know, that surely that would be in the like definition of coercive control if you're like frightening someone with it. It's odd. What does that mean? It's a load of bollocks.
To be honest, that might make that.
But that's not going to make it worse. That's just no.
And to be honest, I agree. Actually, I think what is possible, and I would like to see that, is oh, by the way, cute little teddy bear here.
I don't see a teddy bear. Where's the bear?
Here's the teddy bear. And it's a naughty bear. My daughter loves him. My wife doesn't like the fact that my daughter loves him, but hey, she doesn't understand it yet. Am I grooming my child? Am I a drag queen? Am I a drag queen?
Just itching, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what I actually want to see is that in a lot of cases where men killed abusive women, that lawyers are looking into these cases again, and maybe they could get reduced sentences, which, to be honest, if the partners have been abusive, I'm all for it. So yeah.
It is a mitigating factor. Like, people can be absolutely driven insane. So yeah.
just like Vernon, yeah. So these are all my DVDs, and yeah, up to here DVDs, I think, and then up here all my Marvel comic books.
Wow, there really is loads. That's really good insulation where you are as well. It gets so cold.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Why should you invest in rock wool or something for insulation if you can use DVDs?
Yeah, exactly. You should contact Just Stop Oil and tell them to leave you alone up there because you're sorted.
Exactly.
Insulate Britain.
Yeah. Would you like to say something else about this bill? And most of all, our viewers, are there any comments regarding this proposed bill, increasing the sentences for domestic killers, and reducing the sentence if there was coercive control?
Which office is it that's actually released this?
So let me have a look. It was the Ministry of Justice and sponsored by Alex Chalk and the Right Honorable Edward Argar.
Yeah, no, they just want clout, man.
Yeah.
Clout chasing.
Yeah, I think a lot of that really is posturing and is virtue signaling to the female crowd. Okay, thanks, Vernon, for the comment. Okay, let's look into something more serious now than changes in law.
What's more serious than murder post domestic abuse? That's pretty serious. Fair enough.
The Barbie movie. Let's talk about Barbie. also called feminism or misandry in plastic. So, okay, Elizabeth, I would like to hear, what have you heard so far about the new Barbie movie? So I haven't watched it, you haven't watched it, and we encourage everybody to also not watch it because you shouldn't give any money to this garbage. If you want to hate watch it or something, do it in a way that doesn't give the movie any money.
How'd you do that?
I don't know.
Is this some kind of dark web stuff? Germany, I think Germans do that all the time, hacking and stuff. And the dark
I don't know.
German thing. I don't know how to do that.
I think you should probably contact incels. I heard that incels are a lot on the internet and they are really good with that dark web stuff because they're all terrorists, and I'm sure they can also tell you how to watch Barbie.
You know what? That's such a good thing to bust into, question to bust into the Reddit incel forum with, isn't it? Hi guys, I thought you might be the right people who could tell me how I can watch Barbie for free. That's just worth doing. I don't even want to watch it, but it's so worth doing.
So what have you heard so far?
Yeah, so the first review I saw crop up was from Critical Drinker. So that's the one I've watched pretty much. And I always enjoy his reviews. And I was really grateful that he had gone through the pain to spare all of us. I do think it's quite bizarre because when I saw the advert a couple of months back, and it started with the 2001: A Space Odyssey reference scene.
Yep.
And I thought it did look a bit fun, to be honest. And like we said before the show, yes, you would expect it to be a bit girl boss feminism, but I am genuinely surprised at how mean-spirited it seems to be, and also very sort of adult with repeated use of the term patriarchy, and the sort of themes of predatory abuse in the real world and all of that. However, our Cosmic Care Bear cheered me up about it all by tweeting a message, like a tweet. You know what? Xing it. He tweeted me something I found hilarious, something I found hilarious with the hashtag we was Kens.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw you sharing that.
People like, yeah, a whole day. Barely got any work done.
Okay, so what I heard and what I observed was, well, I watched a couple of reviews and I was quite disappointed by some of the more mainstream, politically neutral guys reviewing the movie, that they really tried to avoid criticizing the feminist aspects of it. They're like, well, I mean, I guess Barbie has to do that. So they were absolutely not even fence sitters. It was worse than fence sitters. So I was quite surprised about.
But were you actually surprised, like, by specific people? Because I am aware that the mainstream media has been absolutely glossing over the fact that the advertisements misrepresented it. Like, I did see there was a debate about it on Piers Morgan's show, and there was some actor who plays a Ken in it. Apparently he is of Love Island fame, and like, this guy was going like, well, it's just a comedy, and it's like, you know what, that's fine. Like, if people want to make shit comedies that appeal to resentful and bitter women, fine, like, they can watch movies too. But it's kind of inappropriate, really, to use the Barbie branding at all, given that that is a little girl's toy. And yeah, you know, it was missold, and so there will have been parents that took their little girls to see it and then had to sit in the car trying to repair the damage after. It's horrible. Like, that is really grim.
Yeah. So I as I said, I watched quite a few people, and for example, the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, they watched the movie together, and they said, and they did a whole video which I would highly recommend, and they are actually saying that the whole movie is an advertisement for the patriarchy, because it's very clearly that the men are oppressed in Barbie land, and that the Barbies are awful to the Kens, and that Ken has every right to say, look, this isn't good. And when the Kens take over, it's actually the first time that the Barbies and the Kens are romantically pair bonding, and the Barbies seem to be quite happy, and then they are brainwashed, they are told to use their sexuality to make the Kens fight against each other, because the Barbies,
literally, there's little girls who've been going to watch this. This is like,
the feminist tells the Barbies, oh, you have to make your Kens jealous so that they start fighting each other, and that's how we take down the patriarchy or Kentriarchy. And the Kens actually wanted elections.
Wow.
The Kens wanted fair and equal elections where everybody could participate.
Really?
And the Barbies skewed the election. They stole the election. It's like, that never happened before. Exactly.
Oh,
so it's,
I don't even know what to say. But
that sounds kind of cool. It's like, it's such a self-own. It's such a self-own.
It's like a tragedy, because the
problem is
win in the end. Like,
I think the big problem is that it's advertised, or that it's young women and girls that are going to watch that, and they get the completely the right messages according to the producers out of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, because I tweeted on the We Was Ken's hashtagged something to the movie, like official Twitter page, which was like, so let me get this straight, like, the Barbies are super competent, like girl bosses who are really smart, and the Kens are useless idiots. But if the Kens, like, if you add a little bit of misogyny, they can totally brainwash the Barbies. Like,
oh yeah.
But I mean, it just is so much less logically consistent than even I realized when I was tweeting that. It's just, that's beyond belief.
And the funny thing is, like, even do you know the commentator Grace Randolph?
No.
Okay, so she is one of the most successful movie commentators. She is super liberal, feminist, all of that, but I enjoy watching her. I think she does a good job. She's very professional. She has studied the, like, film industry, so she can give you a really good breakdown on financial aspects of the movie. She's a feminist, but even she's starting to call out feminism. Is like, unfortunately, this movie sucks sometimes. But she loved Barbie and she thought it was great. But even she said, if I remember correctly, I think even she said, actually, my favorite part was Ken. He was the best part. And many people said that. Many people said in the Barbie movie, everybody
relate to and like want
everybody likes the underdog who's the misogynist, well, who's the patriarch in the end. But I think that's funny. I would like to address a question from Vernon. Do you think this will be the apex of feminist film absurdity, or could it get worse before it starts collapsing?
Seen how much money it made on its opening weekend. They're going to do that over and over again. That's worked.
I agree.
Although and saying that, it got the money on the back of the adverts, which did not represent what the film's about, to be fair. Whereas the films that have advertised that they're ridiculous feminist trash, like the Ghostbusters and all of that, like, they did not do well, right?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
So,
but now it's a cultural phenomenon, and I think it will continue making a lot of money, because now you kind of have to be part of the conversation. So I think
like, you know, I've seen, so Critical Drinkers gone to see it. Ben Shapiro went to see it. I think Michael Knowles was saying, like, oh, like, Ben had such an awful time, I might go. And it's like, stop.
Rishi Sunak took his family to watch it.
No comment.
Exactly. No comment. I think, to be honest, that's really the kind of movies that modern British conservatives are watching and basing their morals on.
Based on that press release they just put out, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah. So I think that these feminist power fantasies will continue for, I would say, indefinitely. I think some of that will always exist. The question is, how mainstream will it be? I do think it will continue a little bit longer. But
I mean, to be honest,
yeah,
I do think that there is, I don't know, when you know, some like Google engineers did like an analysis of content, like fictional content that women consume when they're online, and it's always like the Beauty and the Beast type story, where, you know, it's not about being a girl boss, it's about like seeing the diamond in the rough and helping to make him a better person and then living happily ever after. Like, I don't really think that it's gonna be, I don't know, there's bitter kind of bitchy, catty, stupid stuff that gets put out and consumed, but I don't think it's what most women want to see on.
Well, see, I would like to highlight a little bit from an article that I read in the Daily Mail. And now, fair enough, it's the Daily Mail, but I thought it was worth highlighting. Yeah, look, and it's about the Barbie movie, written by a woman. So the headline says, Barbie review with Sarah Vine. The mother and daughter's verdict that every man in this film is a bigot or a loser. My daughter totally loved it. Now I'm going to scroll down about the introduction a little bit. This is the mother and daughter. And it's, to be honest, it's quite sad that the daughter totally loved it. But I want to read out this. My main objection is that Barbie is not really a film about Barbie at all. It's 1 hour and 54 minutes of extended misandry, dressed up with a few fun dance routines and 1 or 2, granted fairly decent, jokes. It's a deeply anti-man movie, an extension of all the TikTok feminism that paints any form of masculinity other than the most anodyne? What? Anodyne. Is that androgynous?
No.
What does it mean?
It's without strength and character. It's not a strong character. It's like passive and fairly.
Awesome. We learn something new every day. I'm German. I've got an excuse. So
I'm looking dictionary.
as toxic and predatory, and frames women's liberation not as a movement based on achieving equality between the sexes, but as a cultural vengeance vehicle designed to write men out of the story altogether. Every male character is either an idiot, a bigot, or a sad, rather pathetic loser. If the roles were reversed and a male director made a film about how all women were hysterical, neurotic, gold-digging witches, it would be denounced, quite rightly, as deeply offensive and sexist. In a nutshell, Barbie and Ken set off on an adventure to, well, blah, 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 okay? And down here, they discover the patriarchy. What do you think about that article? I was really surprised.
Really?
I was surprised how MRA the article was. I mean, that was a great article.
I was surprised that she actually used the word misandry, because I don't see that in the mainstream media very often, unless they are talking about how it doesn't exist. But no, I mean, like, it seems so gratuitous. And, you know, Sarah Vine is like a mature woman, you know what I mean? She's not a stupid little kid who's vacuous. She knows men and she loves men as much as most women do. So I'm not that surprised. People who are quite mainstream who weren't impressed. You know, with regards to the point about the shoe, if the shoe is on the foot, then yes, people would say that the film is sexist and offensive. I don't think that we should be making sexist to be perfectly funny. You can have very funny, sexist, offensive jokes. I think that, you know, where the like and like the way they did, you know, had it been marketed to, you know, people who like Will Ferrell's comedies and stuff,
yeah,
you know, fair enough, but it wasn't. It looked like
by the way, like when I listen to you, you keep breaking up a little bit. I just wanted to ask the audience if your audio breaks up for the audience as well, or if that's just for me.
Good question. It's your audio is breaking up for me, but I think it might be my signal.
Okay. Well, I
dodgy.
hope that it
Funny enough, like listen to this, right? I went to pay my internet bill the other day, and it's like suddenly doubled for no reason. Like it's doubled literally, which I'm not very happy about. And then literally the next day, my signal's been really shit.
Wow. Well, that sounds like shrinkflation, and that sounds like shrinkflation and inflation at the same time. So you pay more for less internet. So yeah, it seems like people can hear the internet issues. It's Liz's internet. Turns out to be flaky. My internet is great for once.
I need to. Yeah, I know it's sod's law, isn't it? But yeah, I need to make some calls.
Yeah.
Will it brainwash girls? You know, like the girls, anecdotally from my boys, there is a massive problem with misandry and like woke fascism in the girls in their schools. I don't know. The eldest is 14 now. The girls are going to be starting to be interested in boys, and it's like, how long are they going to hold on to being insufferable bitches when they actually want boys to notice them and like them and want to be in their presence? I hope. I'm in
a touristy area, and we have a lot of like families traveling about, and I'm terrified about the amount of feminist looking girls and young women that are out and about. Of course, you could say you can't judge a book by its cover, but unfortunately often you can. I think if the fringe is up here and shaved on the side, there are certain indicators where you're like, oh yeah, you're probably a man-hating feminist.
Oh yeah, I know, but like and I also don't like cutting my own fringe, and so like I just do it quite short so I can leave it for ages. And also I have the problem glasses, and they just suit me, and sometimes I do wear comfortable shoes, but I don't dye it like hair dye. Bright blue and all of that stuff. That's quite. I mean, it used to be cool when I was a kid. Like the cool kids, I dyed my hair and all of that. Like, yeah, you were all right if you dyed your hair, but now it's big red flag. Do you think?
It would actually be funny if I didn't know you and you would walk into my shop. I think I would have a hard time reading you. I think I'd suss you out, and either you would.
I do have my tough girl look, but I also sometimes I look quite girly, and you never know.
Yeah, but the glasses.
But actually, also like
it's the glasses.
I'm at the point now where if I walk into which is $2.99, like I just dive straight into like some serious questions. To be honest, it started in Brexit. Like in Brexit, everyone was so scared of talking about it that I was like, fuck that. So I'd just be walking around, like walk into like a shop and be like, all right, how are you voting then? You know, but I've spoken to quite a lot of people who are having these experiences and like finding that people want to talk about serious issues now. Like they don't want to talk about weather.
In my shop, I have at least 5 serious conversations a day, like sometimes an hour long. My wife, she's like, why are you still talking? But yeah, we talk about the collapse of society. We talk. It's great conversations, and I have great conversations with people from the left, because when you don't immediately out yourself, which I don't, and I slowly open the certain topics like men's issues or migration, they actually see things quite similar, but they're not allowed to admit it. But if you start the conversation soft and make your points, they're like, oh, actually, you have a good point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about most. I meet a lot of leftists who are. We can agree that their side is generally, they've gone mental.
Yeah.
And so start there. Sometimes I start by but if you leave that to last, it can work.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I would like to move on to the next topic, and that's something positive for once. Unbelievable enough. Former Minister for Women calls for a Minister for Men. Catherine Fletcher says government must champion men's health after Tory MP's proposal in House of Commons drew sniggers. The government should appoint a Minister for Men to champion men's health and positive male role models, a former Minister for Women has said. Catherine Fletcher, who served as Transport Minister and Minister for Women under Liz Truss, said that it was right that men received attention in relation to certain issues as well as women. The role of a Minister for Women was created by Tony Blair in 1997, with Labour's Harriet Harman serving as the first person in the post. In an interview with GB News, to be broadcast on Sunday, Ms. Fletcher suggested that the opposite sex would benefit from similar representation at ministerial level. Nobody gets anywhere by bashing one down, she said. There are some historic wrongs to right, but there are some things in terms of men that really do need to focus on them, including mental health, suicide, male role models. So personally, I'd have both, or have men's health explicitly somewhere within a ministerial portfolio. The idea of a Minister for Men has been pushed by Nick Fletcher, another Conservative MP, who is also a vocal supporter of International Men's Day. What say you?
I've never even heard of Catherine Fletcher. That Liz Truss's tenure was very brief though, wasn't it? But I mean, I had just kind of pretty much resigned entertainment by that point. So I've stopped following really. Apart from I actually is saying about that thing that happened. Can we say that? It doesn't matter, does it? On our channel. Some people don't say it, do they?
No, you can say it.
Yeah, all the COVID stuff. But yeah, it is nice to see the Overton window moving like it is on Minister for Men question. It's great.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing, so this feminist who wrote the book, the misguided book, What About Men, I think it was called. We talked about it.
You read it?
Pardon?
Have you actually read it now?
No, of course not. No, I haven't read it, and unfortunately, I didn't find the time to go.
How do you know it's misguided then?
Well, because I read the interviews. So, and the interviews were very clear that she said men need help and feminism is the answer. So,
I think it's not misguided. I think that's the wrong word. I can't think what the right word is. I just think it's understandably, she can't let go of the idea that
okay. maybe misguided is too strong a word. I would say
on the right
that
path. It's on the right path.
yeah, it's in the right direction. I would say it's in the right direction on the wrong path.
In the right direction on the wrong path. No, she's on the right path. She's listened to men and boys.
Yeah, but I think she's walking in the right direction. But she's walking in the right direction, but still on the feminist mindset, which is it's the right direction, but it's still not the right path because the solutions will be feminist oriented. So, but it doesn't matter. But she also mentioned the Minister for Men. So
Yes.
we have more and more women that advocate for women's rights now saying, yeah, maybe it's time for a Minister for a Man. That is a huge change. That's a huge change in, as you said, in the Overton window. It really shifted. And I think people can be sarcastic about it, or they can be nihilistic about it and say that doesn't really change anything. I think that's wrong. It does change something. It if the other side starts to say, well, maybe they have a point, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's an investment in the future. Like, could potentially the office be established and then they don't really do anything very useful because they're still dealing with gynocentric parliament who will ignore them, and so they're just decoration. Like, yeah, that could happen. And could we have feminist kind of politicians attracted to go and work there who will very much be against doing anything that's actually helpful because they're ideologically possessed? Yes, that could happen. But as long as the office is there, we have an opportunity. There is a possibility that at some point someone of substance will go in there and really help.
Yes, and that's actually a great point. As far as I know, in some Scandinavian countries that are obviously massively feminist leaning, as far as I know, some of the parental rights are much more equal for fathers as well. So it seems like that in some iterations of feminism, they actually start pushing for a little bit more real equality, potentially. Unfortunately, we haven't really seen that here in the UK yet.
Yeah. I mean, you can read their kind of rhetoric about it, and it's all about how it's not fair that women get stuck at home with the baby and men can just go off to work and have a really nice time as soon as the baby's born, and that's why it's kind of pushed through. But I mean, if that's why it's pushed through, who gives a fuck as long as it's pushed through?
As long as we have more equal rights, I don't care.
Yeah. Do we want parents at home with their kids as much as possible? Yeah, let's do that.
Exactly. No, I'm not against that. So, and with that, we're coming to the last story for today, and it's a good outcome. Well, a good ending of a horrible story. This was just shared yesterday. So the story reads, Andy Malkinson cleared of 2003 rape after finally being listened to. After 20 years protesting his innocence, 17 of them from inside prison, Andy Malkinson's conviction for rape has been squashed. The Crown Prosecution Service did not contest his appeal in a case that raises serious questions about why he was jailed in the first place. Speaking outside a court after Wednesday's ruling, he said the conviction had left a gaping black hole in my life, adding, I did not commit the crime, but I was treated as if I did. So I'm just going to close that for now. I'm going to come back to the article in a bit. So this man 20 years ago, or roughly 20 years ago, was convicted, even though there was massive evidence that he wasn't the right guy. And it was just a tornado, or like a maelstrom of bias against him in some ways, and people saying it was him, even though and it wasn't disclosed that the people that said it was him, they actually had criminal convictions themselves. I'm going to read about some of that in a moment. But this man has been in prison for 17 years, and he all he got so far is that, oh, sorry. Like his life was destroyed. And
I mean, how can you get justice for 2 full decades of your life that are your prime decades, when you should be meeting people that you fall in love with, having families, building a career, all of that? Like,
now, so the crazy thing is, and this is just what I have to say. Sometimes I just love men. Sometimes I just love how men deal with things, because in this article he pretty much wrote, well, he got a degree in math and physics, I think. So he studied and hit the gym while he was in prison. So he has a degree now, and he is a really calm person, and he worked on his personality, and he said all these positive things, how he grew up in prison, but that he went through hell, but he tried to make the best out of it. And I just have to say, hats off. I mean, that's just crazy, going through such a horrible time, but being stronger for it. And also the reason why he was in prison for so long was because he never said that he was guilty. And I'll read some of that out now. Just a moment. Let's share again. Oh yeah, I would like. I'm just going to read that as well. The first Mr. Malkinson knew of the crime was when Greater Manchester Police arrested him in his hometown of Grimsby 2 weeks after the assault and attempted murder in Stelford. He had been in the area at that time, working temporarily as a security guard before planning to return to the Netherlands, which he wanted to make his permanent home. Mr. Malkinson firmly and persistently told detectives they had the wrong man. He couldn't understand why they thought he was the attacker. For a start, he looked nothing like the e-fit image of the suspect drawn up with the help of the victim. The woman had left a deep scratch on the attacker's face. There was no evidence Mr. Malkinson had been injured. None of his workmates had seen it, nor was their DNA or other forensic evidence to link him to the victim or location. He was taller than how the attacker was described, and he also had prominent tattoos on his forearms that the victim had not mentioned. Instead, she recalled a man who had a Bolton accent and a shiny, hairless chest. The police made a big show of building up to this, Mr. Malkinson recalls. I lifted my chest to show them. It was considerable growth. I'd never shaved my chest in my life, but they just proceeded, brushed it aside, and barreled on. End quote. Then, when he voluntarily agreed to take part in an identity parade, the victim picked him out. I felt the world, the floor, I felt the world, the floor fell from under me. I think I actually wept. I couldn't believe it, he recalls. Mr. Malkinson says it began to feel that circumstances were conspiring against him. He told police he would have been asleep at a fellow security guard's flat where he had been staying as a guest. The problem was his host could not remember the night in question. Neither man had a special reason to remember it. Police had two witnesses who claimed they'd seen the defendant. The jury weren't told that both had serious criminal records. Quote, I was kind of paralyzed, says Mr. Wilkinson. It felt like it was all being manipulated around me. It's like a slow motion car crash. You're going through the windscreen and there's nothing you can do, end quote. His conviction was by a majority verdict. The sentence was life. All Mr. Malkinson could do was shout to the court that he was an innocent man. His first few months of prison time were horrendous, trying to work out who, if anyone, he could trust in a maximum security jail. As time passed, it became clear how difficult it was going to be to get out. If Mr. Malkinson had admitted rape, he could have joined a rehabilitation program. An expert psychologist may have ultimately recommended he was safe to be released on license after his minimum term of 7 years. But when he tentatively tried to get staff to hear his case, there was no glimmer in their eyes that they were willing to listen. Quote, you're asking an innocent man to make a false confession in the guise of therapy. They said, there's no other way here. You'll probably die in prison. I said, I didn't do it, and I'm not going to pretend I did. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to protect them by making a false confession, end quote. Yeah, so that's horrendous.
Yeah, but I mean, that is fucking heroic as well to stay in prison for 13 years because you refuse to lie. Maximum.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to lie. It's just wrong.
No. I mean, it's quite incredible. It's really very incredible. But I mean, it's also really bizarre. Like, in 13 years, did no one say, you know what? If this guy was like a rapist cunt, wouldn't he just lie? Wouldn't he just admit it and like get out so he can go and rape some more? You know what I mean? Like, wasn't there part of them that went the fact that he will not admit that he did this? Maybe it does suggest that he is innocent. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
But
he appealed. As far as I know, he appealed twice and it was rejected. But there was an organization called Appeal, and they were fighting for him, and they were actually the ones who got him out of prison in the end. And when I saw some footage, what shocked me was he was exclusively surrounded by women supporting him. I would assume that these women were from the organization Appeal. And kudos, hey, thank you so much, like, to everybody who defended this man, who was fighting for them. I'm gonna get in contact with Appeal because recently there have been so many false allegations and so many cases where people have had their lives destroyed because of that. Recently, we talked about that as well. I think the police officer who was falsely accused by another female police officer that he was in a relationship with, he was jailed. There was no evidence that she told the truth, but he was immediately jailed. He lost his job, and then they figured out that it was all a lie. Now, what I actually want to do with Gender Parity UK. I want to contact some other organizations that work for justice, let's say, and I think we should work on a proposal for a law or an amendment to existing laws protecting the accused. So more rights for people that are accused. At the moment, for example, in legal documents from the government, people that are accused are called perpetrators. They are not called the accused. They are not called the alleged perpetrators. They are called perpetrators before conviction. And
the alleged victims are consistently referred to as victims.
Exactly.
Like that's the question we're asking. Don't answer it before we've even gone to court.
Exactly. That needs to change. Then those who are accused, they need anonymity, just like the victims need anonymity. We had so many cases where people have been publicly accused and they lost their jobs and everything, and in the end they were acquitted, but they don't never get their jobs back. Sorry.
No, actually, and that's interesting because we've got very generous compensation, financial awards given to alleged victims.
Absolutely.
And that is not given to people who are completely destroyed and then proven innocent.
Yes.
Surely, if anyone needs it, it's them. But yeah, with this Operation Soteria thing again, it's like Alison Saunders coming back from the grave. Well, she's not dead yet, but wherever she is, her crypt. It would be, and yeah, it's in the interests of organisations who help people with appeals, because it is precisely designed to make mistakes, like see innocent people imprisoned. So their workload is going to increase massively unless it's stopped.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I already reached out. There's an organization called Falsely Accused Day UK. So I reached out to them, and it would be nice to find an alliance of people that. The thing is, I'm not a lawyer, so we need some people that have some legal understanding. But we want to bring some stuff in. And what you said about the compensation, that is actually one of the things that our colleague Terry mentioned. He said, well, the alleged victims get legal, they get compensation. First of all, obviously that compensation should be taken away from them, and it should be given to those who were falsely accused. And I also think that there needs to be accountability for the police, for the legal representation that did not do their due diligence and did not protect the alleged perpetrator, because as long as they have not been found guilty, they're innocent. They're innocent men and women.
Yeah, and it is their responsibility. It's the fundamental tenet of our legal system that people have a right to a fair trial. But I understand what the police are doing when we had Alison Saunders and her targets encouraging them to withhold exonerating evidence. And I really honestly thought that scandal was so awful that we weren't going to make that mistake again, not so soon at least. But yeah, with Operation Soteria, police forces are being pressured to do exactly the same thing because we just want rape convictions at all costs.
Absolutely.
So it's highly troubling. How about, have you looked up any of all those Scottish solicitors who were up in arms about, what was that story we talked about?
There was a story that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, but the Scottish government wants to introduce juryless rape trials and they also want to make it harder for the accused to submit evidence to prove their innocence. And
Like that, and no digital strip searches of alleged victims.
And apparently, so one of our colleagues, Steve Moxon, he told me today that apparently, was it? Oh no, it wasn't Steve Moxon. It was another colleague, David Mottershead. He told us that apparently a Scottish solicitor said that what the Scottish government is proposing is akin to what the Nazis did in Nazi Germany. So I think your recommendation of getting in touch with some of the Scottish lawyers is very good.
All tyrants, wherever they're from, whatever their politics is, ostensibly will clamp down on fair trials, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we filled the hour. We're actually a little bit above the hour. We're 1 hour and 6 minutes in. I think we're gonna bring.
Invited Vernon. Oh.
Pardon? Say again.
I've just seen Vernon said goodbye 15 minutes.
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah. But we would love for everybody watching to please share this video and subscribe to the channel. Tell others to watch it, just so that we can grow our viewership. And we'll see you again next week. But now we're gonna have our what we always do after the show, a little prayer, because I think we need a little prayer for this world. Oh, by the way, before we pray, in November, there's going to be a little more grace in the world, because I'm going to have a little daughter called Grace in November.
Cheers to that.
With coffee. Because I ain't going to have any sleep.
Yeah, start loading up now, man.
Exactly. So
you're really getting overwhelmed by women, aren't you?
No, not.
Have you seen that Joe Rogan clip where he talks about, because I think he's got 2 daughters and obviously his missus, and he says that his masculinity is like a big pile of marbles. And whenever he's at home, the women, they're just taking just one marble. They're just no, we just want to paint that wall pink, and it's not a problem. It's just one marble. And then, he suddenly turns around, he's got marbles left. Watch it.
I don't know. To be honest, I think I would say that the women in my life boost my masculinity. So. Yeah, I
bring out that protective instinct.
Well, protective instinct, and also, I want my girls to be proud of me. I want them to have a cool dad, like a dude dad, that so that later on, when they're adults, they're gonna have a really, really hard time to find a good partner, because they always gonna measure them against me. I'm incredibly humble. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, we ask you to bring more justice to this world, your justice. We ask you to pour out your Spirit so that men and women start to see each other again as what they are. 2 versions of your godly image. Please stop this war between the sexes and bring us back together, so that we can both walk towards you, holding hands instead of fighting against each other. We ask you to protect all those who have been falsely accused and those who are in prison. And we also ask you to touch those who might be thinking about making false allegations. May you guide them towards truth and help them not to do the wrong thing, help them to do the right thing and be honest, and to not let their anger and their hate win against innocent men. We thank you for all the people that fight for what's true and what's good. We ask you to protect all of us, and we also ask you to protect our enemies and to guide them towards you. It is in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful. Thanks, Philip.
So thank you everybody for watching. Please share it on Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. And Elizabeth, it was like always a pleasure to spend time with you.
And you.